He has to be, because to revert back a moment to his European trip, the visuals were lovely, but the words matter, and we've heard that pedal on the organ worked over and over and over again. I mean, his speech in Berlin was no metaphor left behind, no matter how banal. Tear down walls, New Dawn in the Middle East, stand together. This is our moment.
This is our moment.
It's narcissism elevated to a metaphysic. I mean, it's just weird.
You want to talk about narcissism?
You know, what's interesting, I think what's really interesting about this year, where the economy is the dominant issue, pocketbook issues dominant, we have two candidates who really don't have a voice on the economy. Barack Obama is much more comfortable talking sort of globally, internationally, big picture, citizen of the world. And John McCain obviously talks about Iraq, and two candidates in a year where the economy dominates have not found their voice on this issue.
George, could I go back to something George Will said about narcissism? There was the moment when he was with Sarkozy. Now, we had never seen a candidate being treated as a head of government or state, and here's Sarkozy, the French president, he says something. Now, it's a joint news conference, and now Obama says something which is beautiful and wonderful, and then Obama says, now, how shall we do this? All right, let's call on these reporters here, and I'm thinking, wait a moment, that's your host's duty. He did that a lot.
It's also given the late-night comedians a way to get at him, which they had really been looking for, and now it is kind of the one, and the arrogance.
That's the problem. You can either look at it and say, here's a strong man who is ready to be president, or you can say, what meat hath this our Caesar eaten that he's grown so great?
It's got to help more than hurt when you see him embraced so fully by an entire continent over the course of that. What I wonder is, how much did this misstep in Landstuhl hurt him? You saw John McCain hitting it very hard, this decision by Obama to out of fear of being called a politician, to not see the wounded soldiers at Landstuhl.
He should have gone. If he had to do over again, he would have gone. But nothing hurts Barack Obama.
At the moment.
He can say, I have visited 57 states and will visit the rest, and no one cares.
Well, I think
a bill came out of the banking committee, so this is a good bill, and it came out of my committee, which suggests he's chairman. He's not even on the banking committee. He said Franklin Roosevelt met with our enemies. No, he didn't. Met with Stalin,
or he can say AIPAC here in Washington.
I think where it hurts them, and they're among military families, and they have a grassroots network where they all talk to each other. I think Barack Obama had great opportunities to make a lot of leeway into younger military families.
Especially enlisted families.
And when that kind of thing happens, it spreads like wildfire. It's like, why is it the guy's too important, he can't go to the military hospital, and it spreads.
But you know what will happen, because this is the smartest campaign with a smart candidate. He'll come back here and he'll go to Walter Reed.
He's already done that many times. I think he should just backtrack, just say, I made a mistake.
He can say to AIPAC here in Washington, the Israeli Political Action Committee, I'm for an undistributed Jerusalem, undivided Jerusalem. And then he has to go over there, of course, when he meets with the Prime Minister Abbas, President Abbas of the Palestinians, and say, well, actually, of course, I agree with the policy, which is it's up to the parties, it's negotiable, and what have you. And he'll get away with that, too.
We were talking earlier about what kind of impact this trip might have on Obama and McCain's poll numbers. Your former colleague, Karl Rove, has put up his latest electoral analysis. Let me put it up on the screen there for you. See the electoral map. Right now, he projects that Obama has about 272, I believe, electoral votes. John McCain, 183. 83 are toss-ups. Matt, critique your old colleague's work there. I think what strikes out on the blue states right there is he's giving Obama Montana and Colorado.
Yeah, I don't quite know where he gets those numbers from in those states. And I remember in 2000 very well that we were supposed to win 320 electoral votes and win by some certain margin. And of course, we all know the election lasted 30 more days after election day. So I don't know where he gets those states. I think this fundamentally comes down to a few states. I think it comes down to a place like Virginia, obviously Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Florida, to a degree, though, I think John McCain has a much bigger advantage.
Obama's not counting on that in any of his...
So I think it's going to come down to 5 or 6 states. I don't think if Barack Obama's winning Montana or winning North Dakota, he's winning 48 states.
That's exactly right.
So I don't know where the numbers come from, but I think it's going to come down to those 4 or 5 states.
And I would pick out 2 states, Koki. One for John McCain, it's Michigan. For Obama, as Matt suggested, it's Virginia.
I think I could agree with you completely, and I think Michigan. You're hearing from politicians that McCain is having that Obama's having a terrible time in Michigan, which is interesting. Because,
still ahead, but by a tiny
But when you
margin.
talk about the economy being the chief issue, the state that is hardest hit by the economy is Michigan, and for the Republican to be doing so well in Michigan tells you something about the two candidates.
That's the point. Barack Obama has, what, 200,000 people in Berlin. It's a wonderful scene and all of that. Meanwhile, we all laugh because John McCain is at the Schmidt House and pretzel place in Ohio. And yet that is middle America. That is where people really live.